This week on the Downsized News, the obesity landscape shifts once again. From record-breaking Retatrutide results and growing questions about speed versus safety, to behind-the-scenes pressure at the FDA, big pharma deal-making, and real-world trials reshaping how obesity care is delivered. These stories aren't just headlines, they're signals of where access, innovation, and power in obesity medicine are headed next.
Welcome back to the Downsized News. It's Monday, December 15th, 2025. Thank you for joining us. We're glad you're here. I'm Lorraine Durham, and I've lost over 50 pounds using the GLP-1 medication Tirzepatide.
And I'm Christopher Durham. I've lost 100 pounds with GLP-1s, and this is where we talk about what that's really like, the wins, the hard days, and the science behind it all.
Each week, we'll bring you the latest GLP-1 news, from Mounjaro, Zepbound, Wegovy, and Ozempic, to the new treatments on the horizon. We look at the research, the policies, and the real stories that affect all of us who are treating the disease of obesity.
If you're new to our channel, welcome. And if you've been with us for a while, welcome back. We're not doctors, and this is not medical advice. We're just sharing what we've learned along the way.
We post new videos every day to help you stay informed, encouraged, and supported. So grab your water, hit that like button, and we'll get started. Your GLP-1 update starts now!
Story number one, earlier this week, we covered a story that has quickly become one of the biggest developments in obesity medicine this year. Eli Lilly's first phase 3 results for Retatrutide. The headline number alone got everyone's attention. In the Triumph 4 trial, Retatrutide delivered nearly 29% average weight loss, which translates to more than 70 pounds at the highest dose. That is higher than anything we've seen before in late-stage obesity trials. But weight loss wasn't the only result that stood out. The drug also reduced knee osteoarthritis pain by roughly 75%, and more than 1 in 8 patients finished the trial completely free of knee pain. At the same time, the data raised important questions. Discontinuation rates were higher than placebo, especially at the top dose, and some patients stopped treatment because the weight loss was happening faster than they were comfortable with. That's a reminder that Retatrutide is an extremely powerful medication, and power comes with trade-offs. We also put these results into context with Lilly's broader obesity strategy, where Retatrutide sits at the very top of a tiered portfolio that includes oral options, injectable options, and future non-GLP-1 therapies. If you want the full breakdown, how the trial was designed, what the real-world numbers look like, how Retatrutide compares to today's drugs, and what this could mean for access and pricing, make sure you watch the full video we posted last week. This is one we'll keep watching closely as more data comes out next year. What do you think, Retatrutide?
They lost weight so fast, they dropped out of the trial. How fast would weight loss have to be to say, "Oh, stop! I don't want to lose any more weight"?
Well, your hair's dropping out. There's reasons for it.
Yeah,
there's reasons for it. I think it's what we saw was unless you're incredibly large, you may be able to use Retatrutide on very low doses. You don't need to get to the top. It was like 70 or 80 milligram dose.
It's powerful at the lower doses.
Yeah.
In story number 2, senior leaders at the U.S. Food and Drug Administration have pushed internally for a faster review of Eli Lilly's experimental oral weight loss drug, Orforglipron, after the company pressed regulators to shorten the review timeline. This is according to documents reviewed by Reuters. The documents show that the FDA Commissioner's Office urged staff to significantly reduce the time spent on an initial filing review, the step that determines whether a drug application contains enough information to move forward. That process typically takes 60 days. Under the proposal, it could be shortened to as little as 1 week for Orforglipron and other drugs selected for a new expedited pathway. Following internal resistance from FDA reviewers, the Commissioner's Office later indicated that it may instead shorten the filing review to 2 or 3 weeks, depending on the complexity of the application. Reuters reported it could not confirm whether any changes will ultimately be implemented, noting that discussions remain ongoing. If a shortened timeline were adopted, Lilly could receive a decision on Orforglipron by as early as March 28th. Nearly 2 months ahead of the May 20th action date previously set by FDA reviewers. The push for speed comes as competition intensifies in the race to bring oral obesity drugs to market. Novo Nordisk's oral version of its weight loss therapy Wegovy is currently under FDA review, the decision expected later this month. Analysts estimate the global obesity drug market could reach $150 billion a year by the early 2030s. In late-stage trials, Lilly's Orforglipron produced average weight loss of 12.4%. Novo Nordisk's oral candidate showed 16.6% weight loss in a separate study. The effort to accelerate Lilly's review is tied to the FDA Commissioner's National Priority Review Voucher Program, launched in June. The program is intended to shorten review timelines for drugs deemed critical to public health or national priorities, cutting the standard 10 to 12-month review period to 1 or 2 months. So far, 15 drugs have been selected for the program, including Orforglipron and a higher dose version of Novo Nordisk's Wegovy. However, unless the FDA shortens its overall review clock, drugs in the program could still face a 6-month timeline similar to the agency's existing priority review process. Lilly received a voucher for Orforglipron in November as part of a broader agreement with the Trump administration to lower prices for its weight loss medicines for government programs and cash-paying patients. At the time, Lilly CEO David Ricks said he expected a decision by March. Documents show Lilly initially requested a 60-day review with a target decision in January. FDA reviewers instead set a 180-day review period, leading Lilly to argue for a late March decision by proposing that technical and labeling reviews run alongside the filing evaluation. FDA reviewers maintained the longer timeline, citing existing regulatory requirements. Under current rules, companies must submit chemistry, manufacturing, and draft labeling materials at least 60 days before a final application, and the FDA is legally required to assess submissions within that period. On Monday, FDA Deputy Chief Medical Officer Malika Munkundur told staff that the Commissioner's office wanted the filing evaluation shortened from 60 days to 1 week, according to the documents. It remains unclear what prompted the directive or whether it would apply to Lilly's application. A Lilly spokesperson said the drug was selected for the voucher program because it addresses an unmet public health need and aligns with the company's affordability commitments. The spokesperson said Lilly expects the FDA to conduct a thorough review and make a science-based decision. A spokesperson for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services said the voucher program is intended to address national health priorities without compromising safety, adding that FDA reviewers apply the same standards to all applications. The voucher program remains largely untested and lacks the formal guardrails that Congress has established for other FDA approval pathways. Last week, FDA Commissioner Marty McCary created an internal review council to evaluate drugs under the program and make recommendations to the agency's principal deputy commissioner. One FDA source, speaking anonymously to Reuters, said the pressure to accelerate reviews raised concerns that safety or efficacy issues could receive less scrutiny. Review it, don't review it, review it in a week, review it in 60 days. No, it's going to be 180 days. No, I'm going to do it next week. No, I'm going to do it next month. No, we're going to do it when we're darn real ready.
Well, it's a safety issue, so they need to review it appropriately. It seems like a week was pushing it probably faster than possible.
So am I to infer that because Lilly committed to lower prices, the administration is giving them shorter timelines for approval?
Yes. Well, but you have to back that up. What this program says is there can be drugs that, because of national security, national health, the administration determines
should push them along faster because it's a question of public health.
So then when you also commit to pricing things, the administration says, yes, please do this. So this is accelerating it. Now, Lilly was trying to push it really fast and get it in a week, basically. And the FDA said, no, we can't do that. We have regulatory requirements from Congress that
slow things down
that they can't go around.
It's crazy. I mean, so what is the timeline now for Orforglipron? Where are we now? We're still not sure?
We're still not sure.
I've read that story and I'm still not sure.
Yeah, at least March, at least.
At the earliest.
At the earliest.
But
that's not
May
in market. Point. That's approval.
Approval, yeah. So we're not going to see it till May, June 2026 at the earliest. I think they've got it ready to go.
Right. So Dave Ricks said they have, and I don't remember the exact number, but like millions of doses ready to go in a warehouse. They just need to start shipping.
And it sounds like the price is going to be reasonable.
Well, I mean, the price, if they go by what the White House said, the opening dose should start at $149 and it would move up to $349 at the highest doses. So at the highest doses, it's not that much cheaper than
the Lilly Direct vials.
Correct. So who knows? I don't know. They've got to do it safe. We need to get it in market.
It needs to go through the proper channels to get approved. We just do it already. Just start doing it.
Story number 3, Pfizer is pressing ahead with its renewed push into obesity treatment, announcing a new global licensing deal centered on a GLP-1 drug developed by a subsidiary of China's Fosun Pharmaceutical Group. Under the agreement, Pfizer will pay Yao Pharma an upfront of $150 million for worldwide rights to an investigational GLP-1 agonist known as YP0550. Worldwide rights to an investigational GLP-1 agonist known as YP05002, along with rights to any additional GLP-1 agonists the company has in development. The total value of the deal could reach $1.93 billion if all development, regulatory, and commercial milestones are met, plus tiered royalties on future sales. Yao Pharma has already advanced YP05002 into a phase 1 weight management study in Australia. The new agreement allows that trial to be completed while positioning Pfizer to take over global development if the data supports further advancement. Like other GLP-1 drugs, YP05002 is being positioned not only for obesity, but also for related cardiometabolic conditions, including diabetes and metabolic dysfunction associated with steatohepatitis. Pfizer plans to study YP05002 in combination with its own GIP receptor agonist PF07976016.
You can't have names for these.
That really rolls off the tongue. Pfizer PF, a whole lot of numbers, as well as alongside other small molecule assets in its pipeline. Until recently, that GIP receptor agonist represented one of the last remaining components of Pfizer's internal obesity program, after the company discontinued several earlier GLP-1 candidates due to safety concerns and underwhelming early data. Despite those setbacks, Pfizer has made clear that it is not stepping away from obesity. Just weeks ago, the company emerged from a surprise bidding war with Novo Nordisk to acquire GLP-1 biotech Metsera, securing another injectable GLP-1 candidate known as MET097I. We reported extensively on that. That drug is currently in phase 2B testing and is being developed as a potential once-monthly injectable. Taken together, the Metsera acquisition and the Yao Pharma licensing deal signal a broader reset of Pfizer's obesity strategy, one that emphasizes combination approaches and longer-acting therapies rather than a single standalone drug. Pfizer's chief scientific officer, Dr. Chris Boshoff, said cardiometabolic research remains a strategic priority for the company and could become a significant driver of future growth. He said the addition of YP05002 strengthens Pfizer's growing portfolio of investigational treatments aimed at obesity and related diseases. For Fosun and Yao Pharma, the agreement represents another step in a broader effort to license out clinical stage assets to global pharmaceutical partners. Yao Pharma Chairman Lu Kuang said the partnership reflects international recognition of the company's research and development capabilities and emphasized the goal of bringing the drug to patients worldwide more quickly. As competition intensifies among drug makers racing to define the next generation of obesity treatments, Pfizer's latest move underscores a key reality of the GLP-1 landscape. Even companies that stumbled early are still willing to spend billions to secure a seat at the table. So basically, a Chinese biotech developed some cool stuff. Pfizer's got a bunch of money. They're going to throw a bunch of money at it. Pfizer has the resources to bring it to market. I mean, they're one of the biggest guys in the world.
In story number 4, late last week, Wave Life Sciences released interim results from a first-in-human clinical trial of an experimental drug called WVE-007. The study was named Phase 1 InLight Trial of a drug called WVE-007. 007 for obesity. In this study, they found that a single dose of this drug resulted in improvement in body composition with fat loss similar to a GLP-1 at 3 months without muscle loss. This new drug is not a GLP-1. It works through a different biological pathway and is designed to be dosed once or twice a year rather than weekly. The InLight study enrolled adults living with overweight or obesity with body mass indexes between 28 and 35. There were no diet changes and no exercise program with this trial. Participants received a single low therapeutic dose of WVE-007 and were followed for 3 months. What researchers saw was notable. After just one dose, participants reduced their visceral fat by 9.4%. Visceral fat is the deep abdominal fat most closely linked to heart disease, diabetes, and other metabolic conditions. Participants also reduced total body fat by 4.5%, which worked out to about 3.5 pounds. At the same time, they gained lean muscle mass. On average, participants gained about 4 pounds of lean muscle mass. So their body fat went down and their muscle went up after just one dose. The placebo group did not see meaningful changes in any of these measures. When you only look at the scale, total body weight didn't change much because the loss of fat was largely offset by the gain in muscle. But from a health perspective, this kind of body recomposition is exactly what clinicians want to see. Less visceral fat, more lean mass, better metabolic health. WVE-007 works by silencing a gene called INHBE, which produces a protein known as activin E. Human genetics already give us insight into why this matters. People who have naturally lower levels of activin E tend to carry less visceral fat and have a lower risk of type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease. In this trial, activin E levels dropped by more than 75% and stayed suppressed for months after a single dose. That durability is why Wave believes this therapy could eventually be dosed just once or twice a year. So far, the safety profile looks encouraging. There were no serious adverse events and no treatment discontinuations. The side effects reported were mild. There were also no clinically meaningful changes in lab values, including cholesterol or liver function tests. Wave is not positioning these drugs as a replacement for GLP-1 medications. Instead, the company plans to study WVE-007 as a standalone therapy, as an add-on to GLP-1s, and as a possible maintenance option after stopping incretin treatment. That last use case is especially important given how many patients struggle with weight regain after discontinuation. More data is coming soon. In early 2026, Wave expects to release 6-month follow-up data from this initial dose group, along with 3-month data from higher doses. Phase 2 trials are already in planning. This is still early-stage science. Phase 1 data is about safety and signals, not final outcomes. But this does show something important. Obesity treatment is moving beyond simple weight loss. It's moving towards reducing harmful fat, preserving muscle, and supporting long-term health. WVE-007 is one more sign that the future of obesity care may look very different from what we're used to.
So basically they didn't lose any weight on the scale. They
lost
fat and gained a corresponding amount.
Muscle with one shot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no one dropped out because it was one shot, and then they evaluated them 3 months later.
Sometimes the one shot will take you out.
But no adverse effects. Like
Right.
Nobody had a bad reaction, and the placebo group had no meaningful results. So it was definitely that one shot that did that. I mean, that would be
we'd
great.
need to see more data because the BMIs they were running were 28 to 35.
Right, that
so
seems
that's
like a
on
low,
the lower side,
yeah,
right?
28 BMI is like almost to not overweight, right?
Right.
So.
And there was no 40, 45. There was no, really big people there.
I wonder if that would have made a difference.
Maybe
in percent of fat loss or something
maybe this
like
drug
that.
just couldn't get you there. That's why you'd have to do it as a
As a
side
higher
by side.
dose or
well,
a
as a
second
side by
dose.
side with GLP-1. Story number 5, a major real-world trial of the weight loss drug Mounjaro has officially begun in Manchester, UK, according to reporting from the BBC. The 5-year study will enroll up to 3,000 patients and will assess the real-world health, social, and economic impact of tirzepatide, the injectable medication that I've used and many of you use to treat obesity. Tirzepatide is the name of the medication itself. In the UK, Eli Lilly markets tirzepatide under the brand name Mounjaro. In the United States, the exact same medication is sold under a different brand name, Zepbound, when it is prescribed for obesity. It is the same drug made by the same company with the same active ingredients. The difference is the name on the box and how it is labeled for use in different countries, not the medication itself. The first group of participants has already visited their general practitioner to be enrolled. Unlike tightly controlled clinical trials, this study is designed to evaluate how the medication performs when prescribed through primary care in everyday life. The trial is part of a £279 million sterling initiative backed by Eli Lilly and the UK government aimed at addressing public health challenges associated with obesity. Researchers will track not only weight loss but broader outcomes including quality of life, employment status, and the number of sick days patients take over time. Professor Martin Reuter, a cardiometabolic medicine specialist at the University of Manchester and the trial's chief investigator, said the study will focus on whether early intervention with anti-obesity medication can meaningfully change long-term health outcomes. He said the trial will assess the drug's health benefits in a diverse group of individuals to better reflect real-world populations. The Greater Manchester study will also examine the wider societal impacts of obesity treatment. Researchers will look at how improved health may influence workforce participation and daily functioning when the drug is prescribed by familiar providers like general practitioners. Dr. Imran Ghaffar, a GP partner at Peterloo Medical Center in Middleton, one of the participating practices, said patients often feel more comfortable receiving care in a trusted and accessible setting. He said research from the trial would help test solutions tailored to real lives. Obesity-related illnesses currently cost the NHS an estimated £11 billion per year, according to Health Secretary Wes Streeting. In Greater Manchester alone, around 600,000 adults live with obesity, according to NHS Greater Manchester. A 2023 report from Health Innovation Manchester estimated the regional cost of obesity at more than £3 billion annually when accounting for NHS treatment, social care, and reduced quality of life. Researchers say the findings from this trial could help inform future decisions about how obesity treatments are delivered, funded, and prioritized by the British government.
So the UK already has Mounjaro. They're just running a clinical trial.
Well, they're running, it's not even a clinical trial. It's a real world trial where they're giving it out to a whole lot of people and seeing if they're less sick, if they go to work more often, if they're trying to figure out the total impact of it.
In story number 6, Eli Lilly is making one of its largest U.S. manufacturing investments to date, announcing plans to build a new $6 billion active pharmaceutical ingredient facility in Huntsville, Alabama. The new site will focus on domestic production of small molecule synthetic and peptide medicines and will play a key role in Lilly's next generation of treatments. The facility will manufacture Orforglipron, Lilly's first oral small molecule GLP-1 medication, which the company expects to submit to global regulators for obesity by the end of this year. The Huntsville plant will become Lilly's 9th U.S. manufacturing site, announced since 2020, and is the third of 4 new domestic facilities the company plans to unveil. Construction is expected to begin in 2026, with completion targeted for 2032. That's a long time.
It is.
Lilly said the investment will create approximately 450 permanent high-skilled jobs, including positions for engineers, scientists, lab technicians, and operations staff. During construction, the project is expected to generate roughly 3,000 construction jobs. Lilly Chair and CEO David Ricks said the decision reflects the company's continued effort to expand domestic manufacturing capacity and strengthen the U.S. pharmaceutical supply chain by bringing more active ingredient production onshore. The company estimates the economic impact will extend beyond the facility itself. Lilly projects that for every dollar invested at the Huntsville site, up to $4 in additional local economic activity could be generated, with spillover effects across supply chain, logistics, and retail sectors. Alabama Governor Kay Ivey called the project the largest initial investment in the state's history and said it builds on Alabama's growing presence in biosciences and advanced manufacturing. The Huntsville location, known as Greenbrier South, was selected from more than 300 potential sites. Lilly cited proximity to the Hudson Alpha Institute for Biotechnology, workforce development resources, infrastructure readiness, and access to utilities and transportation as key factors in the decision. The company said the facility will incorporate advanced manufacturing technologies, including machine learning, artificial intelligence, integrated digital monitoring systems, and data analytics designed to support consistent, high-quality production. Lilly Manufacturing Operations President Edgardo Hernandez said the project will help expand U.S. expertise in advanced chemical synthesis while supporting the company's sustainability goals, including waste reduction and carbon neutral operations. The Alabama announcement follows other recent domestic manufacturing investments by Lilly, including new sites planned in Texas and Virginia, and the expansion of an existing manufacturing facility in Puerto Rico. Lilly said another U.S. manufacturing location will be announced in the coming weeks.
And they're planning out into the 2030s, so they're obviously invested in these orals.
It sounds like a very high-tech, very up-to-date facility.
I mean, I wonder, once it's all up and running, how many actual human beings run it, or is it all automated? You're just kind of dumping in ingredients on one end and unloading boxes out the other end.
I hope it's more human touches than that, but it's hard to say.
Story number 7, Hims and Hers Health has launched its weight loss membership and treatment plans in the United Kingdom, another England story, expanding its telehealth footprint into obesity care as demand for virtual health care continues to grow and access to prescription weight loss drugs remains limited through the National Health Services in the UK. The online health company said its UK weight management program will include prescription medications such as Novo Nordisk's Wegovy and Eli Lilly's Mounjaro, alongside the non-prescription option Orlos, which contains the active ingredient orlistat. Treatments are offered through a subscription-based model following a clinical assessment to determine suitability. Hims said Wegovy will be available at a starting price of £149 per month with a 1-year commitment. The company's UK model mirrors its US approach, where patients pay a monthly subscription that includes clinician oversight, personalized prescribing, and follow-up care related to their treatment. The expansion comes as the UK telehealth market continues to scale rapidly. According to Research and Markets, the UK telehealth sector was valued at $21.56 billion in 2024, driven by widespread internet access and high smartphone adoption that have made virtual care a mainstream part of healthcare delivery. The market is expected to grow at an annual rate of 12% through 2034, reaching an estimated value of $67.56 billion. The policy support from the NHS and the UK government has played a central role in that growth, with increased funding, system integration, and expansion of telehealth services within public healthcare frameworks. Digital first care models are now commonly used for GP consultations, chronic disease management, and mental health services, particularly where in-person access is constrained. Hims already operates in the UK, offering treatments for sexual health, skin care, and hair loss. Earlier this year, the company expanded its European footprint by acquiring Zava, a London-based digital health provider that prescribes and delivers weight loss medications across the UK, Germany, France, and Ireland. The UK telehealth market is competitive, with established providers including Doctor Care Anywhere, which partners with the NHS and private insurers to deliver round-the-clock GP and mental health services. Teladoc Health, which offers virtual GP visits, chronic condition management, and hospital-based digital solutions, and Livy, known as Cry in Europe, which provides NHS-backed GP services across the country. Other players include Babylon Health, MedicSpot, Push Doctor, eConsult Health, and Codal. Despite broader telehealth adoption, access to GLP-1 weight loss medications through the NHS remains limited due to service capacity and supply constraints. As a result, private telehealth platforms have become an increasingly common route for patients seeking clinician-guided weight management care. Pricing for these medications in the UK remains significantly lower than the US, Online pharmacies typically list Wegovy and Mounjaro at prices ranging from approximately £109 to £149 per month, depending on dose and provider. In contrast, U.S. pricing for Eli Lilly Zepbound ranges from $299 to $449 per month, while Novo Nordisk's Wegovy costs between $199 and $349 per month. Hims & Hers said the UK rollout reflects continued demand for personalized digital first healthcare and signaled plans to expand additional services as telehealth becomes further embedded in the country's healthcare system.
In story number 8, health insurers are reporting a sharp and unexpected rise in prescription drug spending in 2025, and GLP-1 medications are emerging as one of the most significant drivers of that increase. According to reporting published December 8th by Stat, some insurers have already spent more on prescription drugs in the first 9 months of 2025 than they did during all of 2024. The article describes prescription drug spending this year as having exploded, with overall pharmacy costs at some insurers up more than 20% year over year. That pace of growth is well above typical annual increases and is now showing up clearly in insurer earnings calls, financial disclosures, and conversations with investors. A central factor behind the surge is the rapid expansion of GLP-1 medication. Stat reports that the proliferation of GLP-1s, the injectable drug that led to substantial weight loss, has played a leading role in driving higher prescription drug spending. While insurers have faced rising drug costs before, the article explains that GLP-1s present a different kind of challenge. These medications are used chronically, have a large eligible population, and are being adopted at a scale insurers did not originally model for. As a result, pharmacy spending is growing faster than overall medical spending at many health plans. Executives at large insurers have acknowledged in investor discussions that prescription drug costs have accelerated faster than expected this year and are now among the largest contributors to higher medical expenses. GLP-1 utilization has come up repeatedly in those explanations. The financial impact is not limited to insurers alone. Rising GLP-1 spending is also creating pressure for employers, particularly those that self-insure and directly bear the cost of prescription drugs for their workforce. That pressure is now leading to difficult coverage conversations. According to the article, the growing cost of GLP-1s has led insurers and employers to consider whether they should stop covering them completely. This goes beyond modest benefit tweaks and reflects a broader reassessment of whether current coverage models are sustainable at today's price levels. As one health policy expert quoted in the story put it, the reporting makes it clear that GLP-1s are not the only contributor to rising drug spending, but they have become the most visible and consequential one in 2025. For patients, the implications are significant as insurers and employers grapple with rapidly rising pharmacy costs. Coverage decisions are increasingly being driven by cost trends rather than patient outcomes or long-term health considerations. The shift places GLP-1 access squarely at the intersection of effectiveness, affordability, and insurance economics, a tension that is now playing out in real time across the health insurance market. I think we've been seeing this as insurance companies keep dropping coverage for GLP-1 medications. They're too expensive. They bust the budget.
And to my knowledge, we're the only country in the world whose insurance is tied to your employer.
Oh,
Everybody
really?
else's insurance is portable. It can move around.
Well, it's a national, like through the government thing.
Through the
like
government,
in the
or you
UK.
can just buy it and it moves wherever, and your employer's not ever involved in it.
When I worked at one large retail organization, we were self-insured. So, that the benefits manager that worked in the company had to pick and choose what was covered and what was
That's how
not.
ours were too, yeah.
And if a new medication like this were to come up, it could potentially bankrupt that system.
Well, but it, again, is why the cost conversation is so important.
Right. I mean, the overall prices of these drugs have to come down so insurance can cover them, so that people can afford them, so that more people can have access to them.
And we know long term it's going to make it an easier business for insurance anyway. Long term, people are going to be less sick. They're going to have less problems.
Right.
Problem is they all report on this quarter. They're not reporting on 2 years from
As
now.
obesity gets controlled, the other diseases that would follow that, now the insurance doesn't have to pay for them because they won't exist.
All right, that wraps up this edition of the Downsized News. If you're looking for tools and ideas to help you on your GLP-1 adventure, head over to our website, thedownsized.org. You'll find links to our GLP-1 Amazon store, our Downsized email list, and even details about our 2026 Downsized at Sea cruise. We hope to see you there.
Make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button so you stay informed with us on all the GLP-1 news. We explain the science in plain English and share what's really happening with us as we continue our own GLP-1 adventures. I'm Lorraine Durham.
And I'm Christopher Durham, and we are the Downsized.